All right, let's talk Notre Dame Fighting Irish. It has been one heck of an offseason for Notre Dame. We all know that. We've all seen that. And as this offseason has gone on, as we worked our way through June, July, and the summer months, the just depth of recruiting news that's been overflowing, we're starting to see some adjustments. We're starting to see evaluations as some young high school prospects get reevaluated to a more realistic ranking. This is where we're going to see those hidden gems emerge, those great recruiting from certain teams, the great finds they make really stand out. And guess what, folks? The Fighting Irish have done it again. Their recruiting status continues to accelerate thanks to Marcus Freeman. We'll get into this latest news in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew. And this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Fighting Irish, it's been covered a lot. We've been a part of that, of course. What a heck of an offseason, specifically in the recruiting department for Notre Dame. And look, there's a lot of programs that have done well. Everyone from Texas to Oregon to USC, kind of forgotten programs like Florida, they've done a great job. Even Florida State had a really good offseason. And of course, you have the Alabamas of the world doing some good things. There's been a lot of good news by really a top 8 or 9 bunch of programs over the course of the past 8 to 10 weeks. And Notre Dame has been at the top of the list. But one of the things we like to really focus on in this channel as we work through recruiting classes and as the recruiting class gets closer to maturity, what that means is as a recruiting class gets closer to actually signing, we're going to see the recruiting services, the organizations that rank these prospects and evaluate them, refine their rankings, right? Because it's one thing to say, okay, a 16-year-old kid is a 3-star, or is a 16-year-old kid's a 4-star, but once he goes to a bunch of camps, once he gets more film, once he gets more eyes on him, then we can start really evaluating him. And sometimes there are a lot of kids that are rated as a 2 or 3-star early in the process, and as they get more attention, you realize, oh my gosh, this guy's a lot better than we think. And those programs that can find those hidden gems early in the cycle and get them with less resources, that is a great job. That's what the good programs do. That's what the championship teams are able to do. And guess what, folks? That's what Notre Dame did. Let's pull up this tweet or this post on X, whatever the kids call it these days, to highlight this point. This is courtesy of Mike Singer. He said, Rivals updated its rankings today, and Notre Dame has six top 50 kids, or top 50 players, excuse me. Going down the list here, you can see it on the screen. You've got Edge, Rodney Dunham. He goes from number 7 to number 6. You got Grayson McCoe going from 181 to 13. That's what we're talking about, folks. You get a kid when he's not doesn't have a lot of eyes on him, and suddenly more attention, and he elevates up the charts. Great job by Freeman there. You got Eben Nexter, Iwatwade to go from 28 to 20. You got Ian Primer from 24 to 26. Slight drop there, but no big deal, right about the same. You got Kerry Adams going from 34 to 30. Slight upgrade there, not a big change there. And then you got Joey O'Brien going from number 99 to number 47. Massive boost there for O'Brien. So across the board, generally speaking, we're seeing massive reevaluation in the Fighting Irish's favor with this latest news, with more evaluation, with more eyes on. Again, we're talking the good programs, the smart programs, the programs that actually do a good job evaluating players. Here's what's important, right? We know Notre Dame does a good job developing guys. Before, they would find these, 3/4-star guys, bring them in the Fighting Irish program, and develop them into All-Americans. That's what Freeman has done for a long time over the past few seasons. Now we're starting to see Notre Dame, and really they've been doing it for about a year now, but this is just a great example of it, going in the recruiting process and evaluating sophomores and juniors in high school that are going to become 5-star caliber recruits and getting them to commit when they're only 3-star guys. This is phenomenal work because, again, to get a 3-star guy to commit takes a lot less effort, takes a lot less resources. They were able to get these guys to commit to Notre Dame before they got the notoriety, before they got more attention. And when one thing we know about the Fighting Irish, and Freeman has proved this, generally speaking, it's not 100%, but generally so, once they get a kid to commit, he is highly likely to stay committed and to sign on the line that is dotted. This is a phenomenal job by Freeman. This is a phenomenal job by every member of this recruiting staff, top to bottom. We've talked about how good Notre Dame has done in terms of quality of recruits, in terms of maintaining their status and recruiting rankings, capitalizing on their success last season, making a run to the college football national championship game. But they've also done a great job while simultaneously elevating the recruiting status by finding diamonds in the rough and getting quality players to commit before they're recognized at their actual status. One of the things that separates the good from the great is the hidden gems, the diamonds in the rough, and Coach Freeman and the Fighting Irish have proved that they belong very clearly in the great category with what they've done on the recruiting trail. All right, Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this, but first, Fighting Irish fans, in the comment section below, we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about putting boots on the ground and getting the job done. So let me ask you this, your opinion, outside of Freeman being the head man, of course, Who on this coaching staff, whether it be an assistant or whether it be an analyst, front office guy, whatever it may be, who do you think is the most important piece of this Notre Dame recruiting machine? Maybe it's fans. I mean, who knows? I'll give you your thoughts. Whatever direction you think it goes, give us who you think is the most important element, the most important cog in this Notre Dame recruiting machine, and put them in the comment section below. I want to hear from you guys. But Mize, over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest news out of Notre Dame?
Yeah, Nick, when you look at what Notre Dame has done here, there's a lot of good. I think, getting a little bit underrated guys, obviously, Rodney Dunham, we knew he was a great player going from 7 to 6. That's fine. Ebenezer Ewatade, the edge, he goes from 28 to 20. That's pretty good. A 8 point jump or 8 ranking jump. That's good. Premer, he stayed right around the same, didn't really lose too much in the shuffle. Kerry Adams going from 34 to 30, that's great. But when you look at guys like Grayson McCoe, going from 181 to number 13 is absolutely crazy. This is a guy who at one point in time, that's composite grade. Some people actually had this guy ranked 262. There's some websites that had him at the bottom, almost out of the top 300 players in the country. And this is a guy now in the top 20 and top 13 players in the country. That's an absolutely massive steal for the guy out of Glenside, Pennsylvania. I think this was a really, really big get for the Fighting Irish to be able to identify a player like this. But again, another one very impressive to me is Joey O'Brien going from 99 to 47. And some websites, some metrics actually have him even higher than that. Some have him at 30th, and some have him slotting in as now a 5-star recruit. So it's getting crazy. Notre Dame's finding guys that are, barely a top 100 player that's now a 5-star recruit. They're getting guys that were not even a top 100 player and getting them into the top 15 players in the country. Really great stuff. I think this just goes to show, that we talked about it a lot this offseason. Notre Dame capitalizing on the national championship, visit, their ability to make it to that game and showcase that this program is capable of doing so. They springboard their recruiting. We've seen them. They've had a huge recruiting. Go check recruiting boost. Go check out our previous videos we've done on Notre Dame. You get a good picture of just how big it has been for Notre Dame. But this is what's showing us how they got there. They've stuck to their roots. They really dig deep. They find the guys under the radar that are much better than people are giving them credit for. Those guys rise to the top, and now everybody is seeing what Notre Dame saw. So Notre Dame, hats off to them for getting it in before everybody else did, going to court these players, get them to come to South Bend. Really a great job by Marcus Freeman and co., showing that they can still do what they were doing beforehand, but also now, as we discussed in our previous videos, they're getting a lot of help in getting more guys come because of this national championship caliber program they proved themselves to be. We all knew they were beforehand, but everyone else in the country didn't. They had to see it. Notre Dame showed it last year. This is national championship caliber team, and now people are coming to Notre Dame. I think this is going to be really big for them going forward. I'm really impressed by this. This in itself, I think, shows how great of a recruiting staff they have here. But overall, Notre Dame killed it this offseason. I think we're going to see a massive jump as far as when it comes to the next few years of talent that comes into this team. I think we used to see Notre Dame was great at getting depth. They had a lot of quality guys all throughout the roster, but we're going to finally see them land these superstars, see them land these top 20 players, 5-star recruits coming into the fold now for the Fighting Irish because of the notoriety they have gained and how they're able to capitalize on it. I think Notre Dame is having its best year yet when it comes to recruiting.
Oh, for sure. And there's just a couple points to highlight here. Talking about Grayson McCue and talking about Joey O'Brien. What's really interesting about those two guys specifically is that they're from the same town in Pennsylvania, right? And here's an important factor. Sometimes these diamonds in the rough, programs are able to find them because they go to places that are just not very deep in terms of high school prospects, whether it's you look at maybe New Mexico, a state like that, or Connecticut or something like that, where there's just not a lot of deep high school recruiting talent. Some of these programs can find that diamond in the rough and get them early just because there's not a lot of great competition. The recruiting services in the big schools, they don't spend a lot of time in, a Rhode Island, right? So you're able to find a high quality prospect there that's kind of sliding under the radar. Not the case from these two kids that got massive upgrades, massive improvements based on their recruiting grades from the state of Pennsylvania, which is a top 8 recruiting pipeline in the entire country. It's not quite the Florida, Texas, California level, but it's that second tier with programs in states like Ohio. And I think this is what makes this job by Notre Dame so impressive, is that there were two really good prospects from the same town in a high quality state, and they got them early before anybody else saw how good they could potentially be. That's really hard to do, right? To give it like an NFL comparison, that's like having a player who's a star at Alabama or a star at Texas, and everyone passes on him, and you select him in the 4th round, and then he becomes a star in the National Football League. People are like, how did everyone miss him? He got all the attention. He was playing at a football school. Somehow he slid in the draft, and whoever picked him up in the 4th round did a great job. That's what Notre Dame did with these two kids. I mean, this is a football area. It's a football state. Two prospects from the same town. It would not have been hard logistically, obviously, to have a recruiting effort, get two guys with one swing, but all of these schools failed to beat out Notre Dame. They didn't recognize what was there. You look at, of course, the Penn States, the Ohio States, other Big Ten schools like Oregon, they put in the time, and they're trying to put in the time now, but I think that ship has sailed. I think Notre Dame did a great job, and again, this is what Freeman has done. A lot of people looked at Chad Bowden moving on, and they said, okay, what's going to happen now? And look, Bowden was a really smart guy, really good job from his perspective, but it's clear this is Freeman's program. It's his strategy, and it's his execution, and there's no one doing it at a higher level at every single point in the process, whether it's finding diamonds in the rough, getting quality players, winning classes, getting flips, maintaining players, and then developing them when they get on campus, keeping a good mix of short, medium, and long-term thinking. No matter where you look, Freeman is doing a better job than any other coach in college football. In fact, you can make an argument in terms of preparing his players for the National Football League. He's done an outstanding job as well. When Nick Saban retired a couple years ago out of Alabama, a lot of people were looking around and saying, okay, who is the next Saban? People looked at Kirby Smart. He obviously is a strong contender, but while being good, they've after that back-to-back titles, they haven't been quite the same after that incredible avalanche of talent they had for a few years. In fact, Notre Dame obviously beat them in the playoff last year. People looked at Lincoln Riley at USC. That hasn't panned out. Dan Lanning at Oregon, very good. Postseason disappointment. Obviously, Ohio State won the title last season, but they had a couple hiccups. We're very curious to see what they do going forward. They've got a lot of changes going on with their roster. Ryan Day was almost fired last season. He was able to keep his job winning the national title, but still a lot of question marks there. I think there's a legitimate argument could be made that Freeman is the coach, the face of coaching in college football. A lot of people, because of anti-Notre Dame bias, they really don't want to go that direction. They just hate the mentions there. But the reality is, wherever you look, no matter what point you look at, no matter what metric you evaluate, there's been no one better than Marcus Freeman. And this latest report about finding these diamonds in the rough, recruits who go much better than their rankings as eyes turn on them. Again, this is what he does. This is what he does with his staff. So much better than any other coach, any other program. One of the many, many, many reasons, and we've covered those many reasons this offseason, why Notre Dame will be a force this season and for many years to come.